Righto guys, well it's been about 3 years since we're last on this lawn, and this is Pedro's buffalo lawn. Now there is a tiny bit of kikuyu through here as well, but predominantly this is a buffalo lawn, and nothing sparks more of a conversation or more of a debate about whether you can or whether you can't scarify. Should you not scarify? Should you scalp? Should you not scalp? And I've also brought along our little ryobi because I know that you guys really resonated with that last video. So I thought, let's put it to the test on some thicker buffalo and just give me my quick little thoughts on it as well. But being such a larger area, we'll come back to this one here. But I just wanted to do a few laps with the ryobi. And then of course, we've got our Cub Cadet here to help clean the mess up. So anyway, guys, sit back, relax, because we're about to rip into this buffalo lawn. As I walk across this lawn right now, the first thing I notice is exactly how thick this lawn is. Absolutely nuts. In fact, when we walk around, what happens is the whole lawn is so matted over the top of each other that, in fact, Pedro, walk along your lawn for me, mate. I want to see, you can see here, the whole lawn moves around his feet. And like, here's an example here, like I'm pushing my foot down here and it's still moving way out here. So today, what we're going to do is, as per usual, going to head straight into the scarifier. We'll do a few little laps of our ryobi. We'll see how it goes, and I'll give you an idea of what sort of settings I would run it at on this sort of lawn. There's a few very important things that you need to make sure you adhere to if you're going to undertake a buffalo lawn renovation such as this one. Number one, the lawn has to be actively growing. It shouldn't be under any form of stress from pest, disease, drought. It needs to be quite a healthy lawn like this, even if there is years of thatch, providing it is healthy, providing it's still green, providing it's still growing, and it's not right at the end of the season, you should be fine, providing you don't go too deep. So today we'll go through step by step, showing you what is an ideal height. I'm probably not going to show you what's too low, but I'll show you how to see that you might be getting too low. And the other thing is, by the time this video comes out, it will be too late to do it now. So watch this video, learn from it, and get ready to go. In spring, mid to late spring is best, all the way through to today being early February. I think today might be the 3rd, the 4th, I don't know, is it somewhere there? 4th of February. But as I said, by the time this comes out, it's going to be too late. So please don't do this going out of the growing season, because you're going to get yourself into all sorts of bother. So I've been wanting to do this lawn here now since before Christmas. It's just been how things have played out. We haven't been able to get to it until now. So this is as late as I would do a buffalo renovation. So let's just call this an end of season renovation, if you will. And come springtime, Pedro won't have to worry about doing one again. So let's first of all start off with this. And just to give you an idea of how thick this lawn is, like that's on the highest setting. And it's even just having a problem, having a bit of a mission being wheeled across. So what we're going to do in a minute, it's going to get Pedro to jump behind it. We're just going to do one pass from the back fence there all the way through to the street, to the driveway behind you there on the highest setting, and we'll have a look at it, and then we might go down a little bit and we'll just see on the ryobi here, which would be the same as all these other little battery scarifiers. We'll see ideally what height of cut or what height of scarification is best for a buffalo lawn, particularly a really thick one that when we get right down into it would easily be, there'd have to be maybe 10 centimeters there between surface and the top of the leaf. So let's have a look at the highest setting. We'll do a pass. Okay, so first pass on the absolute highest setting, and it has sort of tickled out a little bit of the absolute top layer, but as you can see, we're not nearly close to where we need to be yet. So I'll get Pedro to drop it down one more setting to number 3.
Number 3, mate.
Number 3. So we'll do another pass. I reckon we'll start a fresh line. Okay, so second pass, and we did start to get a little bit deeper into what we've got here. So as you can see, we're starting to get a lot more material now, but still not really getting down into where we need to be. Wasn't too bad further down here. But again, when we clear away this material, as you can see, still lots and lots there to be brought up. So Pedro's now dropped that down to setting number 2. Let's just see what happens. But that's going to probably really start to put a bit of strain on that little motor. So Pedro, mate, when you're ready. Righto, so as we got into that kikuyu at the end there, as you can see, it really started to thin it out. So you can really notice there the difference. So that works really well at that setting for kikuyu. It has done quite a good job. One of the things that I do notice with all of these little battery machines is the fact that they probably just don't spin their blades quite as fast as an equivalent petrol machine, which leads to a little bit more of this material here getting sort of, let's say, ripped up, rather than actually cut and pulled out of the ground, or not pulled out of the ground, but cut and not left these long stalks everywhere. But still, this is an extreme example, and if you had one of these machines, you'd probably be doing it a little bit more frequently. So that's setting 4, 3, 2. Oh look, we could try the absolute lowest setting. See if it will bog out, I guess, and we'll see what it, we'll clean that up and we'll have a look at those 3 passes.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. And again, it really does show, really gets into this kikuyu here and really does help to thin everything out. But even further down here on the buffalo down through here, it certainly has brought up a lot of material. Again, I am a little bit concerned that it's not cutting cleanly, like it's pulling out huge amounts, where we'll see in a moment when we go over this with that 46, it'll cut cleanly and it won't cause quite as much of this long runner destruction, if you will. So yeah, we'll swap across to the big girl now and we'll just sort of get an idea of just how much difference it is. We're getting a much cleaner cut. Now, there is the odd runner that gets pulled up, but most of it is little tiny bits chopped up, leaving bits deposited in the soil. So we look over here, the first one's really too light to be of use. The second one might take a few times, but the third one, because it bogs down so much, it does just pull it out a little bit too aggressively. So the key here is you're really looking for a machine that's going to spin really fast, have a lot of power to get through this, because a clean cut is a good cut. Righto, well I reckon there was quite a bit more this time than when we were here 3 years ago, particularly down the bottom here. Like, this is nuts. I've never known that 46 to ever struggle, and a few times there it really started to bog down. I mean, there is a heap here, but as you see, when we pull all this away, right, we still haven't done any damage, right? We're still looking pretty good.
Still heaps there, isn't there?
So what we're going to do now, because there's so much on the ground, we'll jump on that Cub Cadet, we'll pick all this up, and we might go again, as I said earlier, across this way from street to house, just to thin it out a bit more, because at this stage, right, we've just pulled out excess material. We haven't caused any harm, any disruption to the grass. There's plenty still here. There's still room to take out some more and get ourselves a little bit closer down to the soil there without taking everything away. So very steamy today, actually, very steamy. But anyway, we'll crack on. Righto, well, we took an absolute heap out of that, and that little Cub Cadet did a stellar job. Now, it did clog a couple of times, but we did get a pretty big storm last night. In fact, we got about, well, I got 18 mils my side of town. Pedro got a little bit less this side of town. It was real sort of patchy. Some places got a heap of rain, some got a bit less. We won't knock it because we can take all we can get at the moment. But as you can see, for all of that material that we lifted out of the ground, you wouldn't even know it. You would not even know that we've been there with a Scarify. It looks up close, it looks a lot thinner. A lot of dead material's been pulled out. If anything, it looks pretty damn good. But what I'm going to do now is I am still going to go over it the second direction to thin it out a little bit more, pick all that up. I did have a little bit of a whoopsie over here. I may or may not have run over Pedro's bloody water pipe. So he's called his mate who's a plumber, and we've got a little bit of a drip there. I've just hit it with the wheel there. I just lost sight of it for a moment. Pedro hasn't kicked me off site yet, so we're still good to go. He's got a mate come around a little while to fix that up. So anyway, we'll hook on, we'll Scarify some more, we'll put some more in this trailer, have a go at it. There's so much, all this is pretty much, there's a bit of green in it, there's a lot of dead material as well. So Pedro, we might be making a few trips to the dump today, mate.
I'd say so.
I'd say so.
A few big bales there.
There's a few big round bales in the making.
Yes.
All right, well, let's Scarify again, see how much comes out this time. That should get us most of this thick stuff out, because if I was just to put the Scalpy mower straight on this at this point in time, we would have done about one pass by now. It would have been far too thick. I always like to Scarify first for 90% of my renovations, and then I'll come through with a shortcut after that. And it may even be, I may even try dropping the height a little bit on that Cub Cadet, but got to keep in mind it is pretty damp and I want to be as efficient as I can. Well, you wouldn't think for a minute that I would have got pretty much the exact same amount out of this again. So it'll be very interesting to see now, once we pick up all this material, what we're left with. Regardless, 2 Scarifys is the absolute most that I personally would do on a buffalo lawn. So we'll pick it up, we'll see what it looks like, then we'll drop the height, probably with a little Scalpy mower, and I'll show you how low I like to go when I Scarify renovate a buffalo lawn. So I've just gone ahead now and I've started to do our scalp cut. Now, as you can see, I haven't gone down crazy low. We've still got a skeleton of buffalo here on the surface. There is plenty of viable grass there, which will reshoot in next to no time. So, you know, this you can absolutely scarify a buffalo lawn, providing you don't go crazy. And as you can see here, we've scarified it twice. We've gone down to probably not quite the dirt level with that machine. And from there, I'm just coming across now with the scalping mower. It's not anywhere near its lowest setting. We're just looking for something like this. We can see a little bit of dirt if we need to, but we've still got plenty of material on the surface there as well. So probably could even go one notch lower. I don't feel it's necessary in this case. We have relieved this lawn of a heap of material. We've opened it right up. There is now going to be a lot more airflow through here. Yes, initially it might help dry it out a little bit, but this lawn will bounce back by the time we feed it, and it will be looking absolutely amazing. So going to get across this now with this little scalping mower, and I'll actually start blowing it back on to the cut bit now, so it's not working as hard. I just did it this way to show you guys I guess what we're looking for, or how much to leave or how much to take off, etc. So we've gone from a double Scarify, which has sort of had it looking like this, which even that looks 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it's heaps thinner, right?
Heaps thinner, and you could probably even, if you wanted to, if this is a little bit more open, drop that Cub Cadet down a few notches and just do it at that and be done. But we're going to do the whole thing as I'd recommend someone at home to do it if that's what they're going to do. So let's hook in. So as you can see, we've got it all done now, and a double Scarify still doesn't mean you're going to lose all your material. So we've done the double Scarify, we've done a reasonably short mow. We have gone down fairly deep. There's still plenty of runners across the surface here to re-establish this lawn itself. So we certainly haven't run into any problems there. So from here on in, you could do a couple of things. If you wanted to, you could do a core aeration. You could certainly do a top dress if that was something that you wanted to do or needed to do to correct some levels and so forth. But here today, we're really just looking at giving this a reset, well, a height of cut reset to make mowing a little bit easier here for Pedro. So what we'll do now is we'll chuck out some fertilizer. So we'll go with the Plant Doctor fertilizer. And then we might also put down some grub prevention there with acelepryn. So we're being February now, we'll put some acelepryn down, which will give Pedro protection for 6 months through the winter against all the potential pests and grubs that may come into the lawn. And then again in springtime will be the next time that he would apply it. It's time to move on now to our fertilizer. Now it's really important, particularly with buffaloes, to get it moving again as quickly as possible. So we don't want to use a product that is a slow release style product. We really do need something that has an instant release up front and then a sustained feeding going forward. Now the Plant Doctor Champion greens grade fertilizer will do exactly that. So we're going to put it down at the upper rate here, which will be the 4 kilos of product per 100 square meters. Now, if you are looking to do the whole Plant Doctor thing, I do have a discount code, which I put on the bottom of the screen there, is BREN10. That'll give you 10% off your purchases at checkout. So we'll get this on, we'll chuck a bit of water out. Now, hopefully we might even see a bit of a storm this afternoon. Yesterday we got one, but it's very humid, but we'll find out. So we'll get this out and we'll go from there. Like a lot of granular fertilizer products on the market, the Plant Doctor Champion greens grade fertilizer does contain iron. So it is very important before you start watering the product in to hose it off any hard surfaces, concrete driveways, tiles, pavers around pools, etc., because it will stain. So keep that in mind, guys. Make sure that you blow it all off the pathways before you water, otherwise you're going to be left with little rust spots all over, and nobody wants that. So we've got our acelepryn out, we've got our fertilizer out. I was contemplating putting out a bit of a soil wetter as well, but Judging by this soil is holding really good moisture right now, and I don't see that there will be any benefit at this point in the game of adding it. From here on in, we're going to start our irrigation. So we're going to put probably 2 to 3 times a week. I think Pedro's currently watering twice a week, so we'll call it 3 times a week, just during the recovery stage. And then once it's recovered nicely or well on the way, we can resume our normal watering techniques. So I think what we should do from here on in is check back in a couple of weeks' time. Well, believe it or not, it's been 5.5 weeks since we did the renovation on this lawn, and I was hoping to get here sooner, but unfortunately life gets in the way for both myself and Pedro, and just before you know it, time slips away. So here we are, 5.5 weeks in. And how many times you've mown it now? How many times?
Be about 4, close to 5 times.
So about 4 or 5 mows. So we're getting some really good response, particularly up here on the upper section. This is looking exactly how I'd expect to see. There is a small amount of leaf spot on the buffalo that I'm just going to keep an eye on for now. There's no point, I don't believe, at this point in time spraying that just willy-nilly. We'll just see if it improves or gets worse. If it gets worse, then we'll treat it. The other thing that I've noticed here, we've got a little bit of oxalis over in the back corner, which I will treat, but today is just too windy to be applying any sort of chemicals, so that won't be today. As we head down, Pedro has had his water pipe fixed, and there's a much better post there now, mate. I think if I hit that again, there's no hope, because there's no excuse to hit that this time. No excuse. As we head down to the street though, things change and they're not so rosy. So let's wander down there now and let's talk our way through what's going on. Righto, we'll start with this little patch here. Now basically what's going on under the soil here, we've got about, I think there's about that much dirt.
Yeah.
It's about that much dirt, because literally there is actually a drain under here. So Pedro's just built this area up. So what we're looking at all the way along here is simply lack of water. Unfortunately, the irrigation system, the pop-ups that Pedro has here, are not perfectly aligned into the corners. In fact, there's one here, but he can't put one down there because this is so shallow, because there's concrete under this area. There's not actually even one halfway along. The only other sprinkler we've got is right over the other side, near the tree, between the tree and the water pipe that I bumped into the other day. So this winter, Pedro's going to add and rectify and change his irrigation system. So what we're suffering from here is simply just a lack of water during recovery. So, I mean, you could argue the renovation has contributed to this, but had it have been watered the same as what's up the top there, then we would have seen a good result. So wintertime, an extra sprinkler is going to go in down the bottom here. But as you can see, there's still bits of fertilizer and stuff. So it simply just did not get quite enough water. So what we're going to do, Pedro, in the meantime, until he changes these sprinklers about a bit, is going to get a soaker hose, lay it along here, and just keep an eye on and give it quite a bit of water, because the window is now closing. As I said, we're now into mid-March and the weather will start to drop off. So I'm confident that we can get this area recovered before the cold weather sets in. But just for now, what we're dealing with here is simply a lack of water post recovery of renovation. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're doing renovations, make sure your irrigation system is up to task. And if it's not, be sure you're ready to add extra water to areas like this to get it recovering. So as I said, we can get it done, that won't be an issue, but it just has not quite recovered as good as I would like to have seen. But that's the way it goes. So anyway, guys, look, we'll wrap the video up here. Hope you've enjoyed this little look at the buffalo lawn renovation. As you can see now, it does work. There's no two ways about it. But just keep in mind, irrigation is the key to recovery, particularly in areas here which have the reflected heat from the road, and sprinklers that aren't actually flush into the corners. Anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up here. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.